Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and today we're starting a series on the game Zero Time Dilemma, which is the third game in the Nonary series, with the first game being called 9 Days, 9 Doors, 9 Hours, or 9 People, 9 Days, 9 Hours. It's always shortened down to 999 in my mind, so I don't actually know the name. And then the second game in the series was 999 Virtue's Last Reward. Both of those games are fairly wild, whereas this Zero Time Dilemma almost feels like it's a in a earlier timeline or a different universe, in that it's a little bit going to be simpler. You can kind of tell that even by the wristbands that are being spun around in 3D here, as that looks very old-fashioned technology compared to the wristbands of the first Nonary game, which were very high fashion and sci-fi. And looking at the character designs and the screenshots, it is definitely taking more of a slightly closer to realistic depiction of characters instead of just a bunch of very weird anime stereotype characters, which was kind of what happens in the two previous games. Now, this game says its release date is 2016 on Steam, but I will say more than likely it came out earlier than that. But it does seem like there is going to be a level of improvement here. First things first, I don't believe that the previous Nonary games have had controller support. This does. When we look at the settings here, this feels like something that could have been on a Nintendo DS or a PlayStation Vita originally. But notice we have a voice volume here, and we have actual spoken language being between English and Japanese, which ideally you would want to hear the Japanese voice actors, because that would be the better experience. Almost certainly the Japanese voice actors in the Japanese games are going to be better than the English voice actors. But that being said, the problem with these two previous games have been that they have been very much 95% visual novel, in which you're just reading a ton, which means I personally was reading a ton to the into the microphone, which isn't particularly that fun. Or that good. I'm not a voice actor, certainly. So we can avoid that if all lines of dialogue, and there is still an if there, are spoken in English. Now, it is very possible that not all lines of dialogue are actually spoken out loud, and only cutscenes have things spoken out loud, and then there's still a bunch of text popping up. I definitely have wanted these games to be more like the Saw movie, where you're trapped in a death game and you have to sacrifice yourself to escape, or sacrifice someone else to escape. And Zero Time Dilemma does feel like that's the case. In fact, Zero Time Dilemma is kind of the perfect name to explain the flaw in every jigsaw trap as it's ever shown, is that with perhaps the exception of the first movie, every jigsaw trap after that, or pretty much all of them, gives a unrealistically small amount of time for somebody to even know what's going on, let alone to make such a horrendous decision as cutting off a limb or something that would be required to escape. Speaking of time in a roundabout way, cursor speed I'm going to turn up to fast. I assume that means the text will show up on the screen faster. Noticeably, there is a question mark button in the top right here, but the controller doesn't seem like there's a way to really get to that. Maybe that would be in a pause menu button or whatever, but yeah. We've got the subtitles on, we've got the volume at default, turn the cursor speed up, stick with English spoken language. That's pretty much where we need to go. Now, I can say I know a little bit about this story. but not a lot, and so there's really not a reason to really spoil it because it's probably going to be explained to the characters fairly quickly. Like the previous Nonary games, there's going to be a lot of different branching paths, but I think they may have systems that are even more advanced than the previous game as far as jumping between specific branching paths to complete all the different branching paths and not make it a repetitive mess. It is also a little strange that we are going to be seeing some of the characters from the Virtue's Last Reward and 999 come back, but they're basically going to look more realistic in their costumes and their designs, I think. And I'm not sure that this really is a true canonical sequel that is going to wrap up whatever the story has been for the Nonary series, which, like, the first game, I don't think there really was much more of a story than people were trapped and trying to escape, and then the second game ramps that up to the idea of the world has ended and now you have to go back in time and stop the world from ending. So I don't know if this story really is going to connect back to the idea of people sending their minds back in time to stop the world from ending. So all we can do is really go forward. So let's go forward. Notably, I wouldn't be surprised if there's yet another game that comes out in the same series and that the story would just keep on going. This is called Zero Escape, Zero Time Dilemma on Steam, which the logo does not have that Zero Escape title. And the previous games, like 999, I don't think have the Zero Escape title either. Let's start. That's about as much setup as we need. Coincidence, it says, with the sea flickering. Nevada Desert Decom.
Hey, open up.
12/31/2028, so in the future.
Who would do this?
Shit.
So
What's
you have
wrong with
one
you?
weird looking character
Someone's
with a
one-night
mask.
mistake.
A mistake?
Maybe Diana's.
This isn't the time for jokes.
I recognize that girl by her
Let me
voice.
guess. That helmet can't come off, can it?
So creepy. I don't want it near me. Where the hell did this thing come from?
So they're waking up in groups in prisons. And that's a very weird angle it's depicting.
Shouldn't we be trying to get out of here?
And then there was a gimmick
This is a confinement room.
of
The bar's only
a
open
character
from the other
with a mask over his head
Nothing
in the
to do
previous
but ask
game.
whoever did this to
But I
let us
imagine
out.
they're gonna
The mastermind's
do
right
something
there.
different with that.
That kid locked us up.
So he was the one who put these on us?
This is already a million times better, though. The animation is
It wasn't me.
like there's
talks!
way better animation and way better of an event where you just don't have to read everything and tap the A button after each sentence. Like I'm literally just able to sit and watch what is a cutscene like a cutscene instead of most visual novels. I can barely hear that guy.
Can make a world go extinct.
Make go
The
extinct.
music's too loud.
What the hell are you going on about?
Who are you?
I'm sure you determine that eventually.
Why are you doing this?
I require all of you to take part in a game.
A game?
With the fate of you, me, and the human race in the balance.
Fuck that!
Let's get started.
So noticeably, in that scene or that brief section, you the character wasn't actually moving. So we're going to see a bunch of cheats, I imagine, where characters are stationary as 3D models, and their voice lines will play out.
Beneath my foot, there's a coin. One side of it is red, while the other side is blue. Which side of the coin is facing up? Make a guess. However, you only get one chance.
Do we get something if we get it right?
You'll fail. I promise that I will release all of you.
And what if we're wrong?
You won't lose. You'll have to stay in the game until at least 6 of you dead.
What? Let's go with blue.
It's red.
Right, red. It's gotta be red.
Wow,
50-50 chance.
easily just
And the odds for each are the same.
swayed.
Then we should vote. Wait! I can't believe you guys.
Akane's right. We're just going to do what he says?
He knows her
What do you
name.
think, Carlos? You are the leader of this group. I will take your decision as everyone's final answer.
What are you talking about?
I'll let Carlos choose.
Pick red.
It's blue.
So what do you say, Carlos?
So I guess we're playing as Carlos.
No, Carlos!
Don't answer him.
So they're going to start you off simple here, just picking a choice.
Time to choose, Carlos.
And almost certainly,
You are that solitary snail.
whatever you pick, he's going to do a magic trick. So it's the other way. And so, here's the thing here. And almost certainly in a previous run, we're going to be able to pick a different one. The background is blue, so I want to go with red. But I don't think it matters, because I think we just split into an alternate universe, regardless of what we choose. We can see here, there is already a flowchart. There is already a memo we can make. And yeah, this definitely feels like something that would be a DS type thing. Let's bring the music down just a little bit. Or you know what, maybe just, yeah, we'll bring back that down and that down a little bit, like that. And then as far as our status, we can see that there will be a C team, a Q team, and a D team. And if it's red and blue now, then I imagine the green path won't even be an option for a while. But yeah, we've moved into the game fairly quickly without going into the difficult parts of introducing characters immediately or having everybody freaked out because of the situation. I guess we could look at files here, and we can see that there's a decent number of cinematics and quest things to collect. But yeah, interesting though, you run into the problem of the idea of it being really a zero-time dilemma, and you have to just make a decision quickly, and you can just always pause the menu in a video game, so you really don't have to do anything crazy there. It's not really worth it to save at this point and go back. Like making a checkpoint here is probably not necessary. Very notably, as the camera was able to just pan across and show each character, we now know a couple of the characters' names. At least one of the characters, I believe, is from the previous Nonary game series, but they're all dressed way more normalized. It feels like, yes, this is potentially something that could have happened. Yes, you still have the anime purple hair thing happening, and characters just having different hair colors so that it's easier to differentiate them. And there still is one girl that has a lot of cleavage showing, but honestly, compared to the 2 previous games, the character that's showing a lot of cleavage is downright dressed modestly. And so, yeah, it's almost a fan service. Well, it is literally called fan service at this point, but it is also literally just to appease the fans that there would be one character with cleavage showing, and then there would also be one character that's a kid, because that changes the situation, certainly. And obviously there'd be female and male characters also, so that changes different scenarios and situations. And there'll be a bunch, almost every character will have a different personality type. But yeah, we are very far away from just the level of insane high fashion anime dress that most of the characters had. Yeah, I'll just pick red, because it really doesn't matter.
It's red.
I'm not sure I particularly love the idea. I wonder if that's always going to be right.
See? Didn't I say it'd be red?
Because he's lying
Yeah,
about
whatever.
releasing them. He's going to release them from the room.
Well done, Carlos.
Are you some kind of clairvoyant?
It was just luck. I had a 50% chance. It's not too hard to get it right.
Hey, hold on a sec.
I'm not sure I really
Okay,
like
sure,
the
you lucked
idea
out
of
with your
playing
guess.
as
But what if you had gotten it wrong?
What does it
a
matter?
generic blonde guy, but I
Everything worked out
imagine we won't
fine.
be seeing that character
So, are you
as
going to
often
make
as
good on
you'd
our
think.
deal?
Fear not. I'm a fair person. I promised to release you, and I shall. But before that, I apologize, but you must all sleep.
Sleep.
When next you wake, you will have forgotten everything that just happened here.
Why would we forget?
I wonder. Pleasant dreams.
So the watches inject a drug to make everybody fall asleep and forget everything.
I know. You're...
So I wonder if I'd chosen blue, if that had always, it would have been blue, just as this kind of setup tutorial idea to give meaning to something that actually is meaningless. And certainly that highlights where if we're gonna have to go through that scene again, then
Hey, hold on. Why are we outside?
I have no clue.
When I woke up, we were on the ground over there.
Huh?
What is it?
Didn't we all have something attached to our left wrists?
I suppose we might have.
Coin.
Huh?
Nothing. I just saw an image of a coin flash in my mind.
it is very weird
It
to
was
see
flipped and
the lip
fallen.
flap not match,
Come to think of it.
which I don't think in Japanese, if we were listening to Japanese voice acting, that the lip flap
Damn,
would
I can't remember
particularly
anything.
match either.
Me neither.
Neither can I.
It somehow feels like I made a bet with someone, but
And see, this very
Someone?
possibly is the wrong choice, because you may now just be stuck in the
Did-
desert,
We all forget what
not
happened.
knowing what happened and starving to death or
hey,
dying of dehydration.
Could I ask all of you something? Who is this kid?
Yeah, I think we've already gotten our first ending. Now, in this game, that's a good thing. You want endings. You just to eliminate potential choices and potential branching paths. So, obviously this is a gimmick that might turn off a small percentage of people, but not highly that many people, really. And one would assume that you never choose red again, or you never need to choose red again, and you always choose a blue. But yeah, you're definitely not getting an ending there that's very satisfactory, because you haven't gone on that journey, and you're definitely not being told whether those people, if everybody survives, then survive in the outside. It is weird to potentially have a character that needs to have kind of bad luck, at least in the short run, to maybe have good luck in the future run. Compared to the first Nonary game, there really was no explanation so much as to, well, there was an explanation, but it frankly a little complicated to figure out and understand as to why different paths would be replayable, or why there would be a reason why you might be able to get further along in certain paths. It basically was this idea of 9 people being in mortal danger and then being able to psychically send thoughts to the past to someone else. Whereas in the second game, it was still kind of the same idea, but with maybe a little bit more science and technology behind it, where you would go into alternate realities and have some memories set in the past. It's the same concept, though, is that through each iteration of the story, you as the player will learn something, but also you might be able to send something to the actual characters. I was thinking that there might be a image or something that would pop up here at the end of the credits. You can see that there isn't that many credits to show, and we're just basically listening to the music. But nothing speeds it up, so we now have QCD end 1. Alright, so let's go ahead and save our data, and like the previous games, we can see that there are 7 other branches, and what if it's like the first game, there'll be a bad ending for each of the 6 remaining paths, and probably a good ending, if not 2 good endings. Alright. Now it's time to choose whose fate you will follow first. Select a team to continue the story. And it seems like they are going to just straight up decide to let us keep playing, which is a little weird. Okay. So we could play as the main character, which that would make some sense. We could play as the kid, or we could play as Akane, who I think is a girl from the first story, if not her being the actual absolute damsel in distress in the first game. Let's see. Let's hit X and see the flow here. Yeah. Can we zoom in? Nope. So immediately you can see there are 3 branches here. So at some point there will be a green path that unlocks on top of the red and blue path. If it were a purple path, I'd almost assume that this kid might be hers and his characters, but I think we'll just stick with red. Each image you see here is a story fragment. Only one is available to you now, but you will unlock, but more unlocks as the story unfolds. Select any unlocked fragment to continue the story. When you are unsure how to control something in the game, click the question mark in the top right to open the control guide. You can also press back on the controller or F1 or the number 1 apparently on the keyboard. Okay, so that is the back button. Okay. So there is a possibility here. I think we should go with blue here this time and play as this character. And that definitely puts a different spin on it, certainly, in that CQD is a phrase, but I forget what it means. I think it means certified quick delivery or something. Or some Latin to mean do something quickly, which that would make sense, wouldn't it? But yeah, I guess you could have a very different experience playing as a different character and giving a different character the options. But notably, as far as checkpoints, which is all these really are going to be, there isn't a ton of them, but then the variations could change things, certainly. Alright, let's play as her. So, if we choose her fragment, you get win and you get payoff as an ending. And that's it. So then you click here to jump to this spot.
Time to choose, Carlos. You are that solitary snail. The fate of the world.
It's still Carlos
rests on your decision.
making the first decision. I thought it might change. Well, this time we'll choose blue, and it'd be funny if that wins also, but yeah, there's not really much else you can do at this point. We could see fragment flowchart would just show you this. There seems to be a global flowchart that shows you something different, and then team select in case you want to switch teams, but at the moment I don't think that matters. I imagine he's not doing a trick to make you win.
It's blue.
I imagine it just is always red.
That's why I told you red.
Carlos, you asshole! You got it wrong!
Carlos,
What were you thinking?
Hey, wait a second. Carlos isn't the one to be blamed for all this.
Right. The person who started it is. So, what now?
You should know already. You were wrong, so the game continues.
Until 6 people are dead, huh?
Yeah, I think I want to turn down the audio even more.
Why don't we hurry and get this over with then?
Before you begin, I'm going to need all of you to go to sleep.
Let's see.
Sleep?
When next
Sorry
you
there, I
wake,
was trying to bring up the menu, but it didn't
everything that just
seem like it's gonna let me do that as far as the audio.
But why?
There's no point in telling you now. You won't remember anything anymore. Pleasant.
Akane really feels like the only character returning, though. Which it is probably better if in each of these series most of the characters are new, because in Virtue's Last Reward, the second game in the series, there was definitely this overemphasis and overfocus on my part as the player around the returning characters who kind of don't play as big a role as you would think they would have as returning characters. So now we get a full intro, which is probably spoiling quite a bit. Almost certainly a lot of these are just bad endings. The first game, 999, had this weird mathematical element to it where you had to figure out the right teams of 3 to go through certain doors. The second game had a weird prisoner's dilemma voting system. None of it ever really got down to just feeling like something. That's Akane?
Bastard! What the hell's going on? You brought all of us here!
No! It's not me!
Then what the fuck is that stupid thing on your head?
Let it go, Eric. No need to take it all out on the kid.
Mira?
I wonder what this is.
They all seem to know each other's names, weirdly.
Give it up, Diana.
Which almost
Better
certainly
that you don't force it off.
shows that
Why
they've
do you
been
say
through
that?
this multiple
You
times.
should listen to her. I get the feeling she's seen it before.
Bracelet?
That's what it was called a year ago. Right, Akane?
Junpei.
Oh, these are characters from the first game a year later from the events of the first game, but they,
I am Zero.
I think, look very
Second
different.
Zero.
The second?
Let me make one thing clear. This is a recording. So don't bother asking questions as I cannot answer them. I'd like to tell you an old story. 17 years ago, on a rainy morning, a woman went jogging in a large park.
In a funny way, you might be better off playing this game second, and then Virtue's Last Reward
But for some reason,
last.
she chose the left. Along the way, she bumped into a senior citizen she saw every day. Surprised to see her, they asked, "Why did you come this way today?" This was her reply. "Because there was a snail." Her body was discovered a few hours later. Murdered. They found her in some bushes along the left path. Sometimes, life is simply unfair. Don't you think?
What the hell is all this nonsense?
It's the same for all of you. The pull of an unjust fate carried you along to this moment, only to find yourselves in this bomb shelter 50 meters below ground.
Wait, what?
As you can see, this place is divided into 3 sections. Carlos, Akane, and Junpei. You 3 are in
Akane and Junpei are
You will
characters from the
henceforth be
previous
referred
game,
to as C-Team.
but
Your leader shall be
those
Carlos.
characters really don't look anything like what I recall them
Next
looking
is
like in the
Q,
first game.
Mira, and Eric.
They're
You
definitely
will be toward Q.
very different in that they're 3D
Q-Team.
3D models
As
instead of
evidenced by the
flat
name, the
2D
Reapers.
anime characters.
Hey, wait!
Is this a joke?
And finally, Diana, Phi, and Sigma. Ward D is where the 3 of you are. Diana is the leader. That makes you the D-Team. You may wander as you like, as long as you remain within your respective wards. There is a time limit, however. 90 minutes. Once 90 minutes are up, an injector in your bracelet will activate. And an aesthetic and an agent to erase your memories will be administered.
Memory erasing drugs?
As a result, you'll all fall into a deep, uninterrupted sleep. You will also forget everything that occurred in those past 90 minutes.
What?
The bracelet has an additional function. A watch. Pressing the buttons on each side simultaneously will display the time.
12, 10.
Today is December 31st, New Year's Eve. The year turns over in less than half a day. Unfortunately, very few of you will find yourselves able to welcome a new 2029. Take a look at the door. It's clearly marked with an X. Beyond this X door is a hallway with an elevator. Riding the elevator up will take you above ground. There's no other way out. The door is easy enough to open. Simply obtain the X passes and enter them into the input device beside it. 6 X passes are needed for it to unlock. 1 X pass will be announced every time someone dies. In blunter terms, if 6 of you die, the rest will gain all of the passwords and will be able to open the X door.
This is bullshit.
So basically,
Caveat.
6 characters die, you get the codes, maybe you go back in time and remember the codes at that point.
Never open again.
Yeah, all these characters look brand new. I feel like they probably didn't want this to be connected canonically to the Nonary game series. And then at the last second, they changed the names of the characters to connect it.
One team to execute.
What?
Do you see the computer in the corner of the room?
Now we're at the point where we have a little bit too much of a setup.
Decided to eliminate. Each team gets 1 vote. The leader must submit it for the group. Your deadline is 13:30. Any team that hasn't voted before the time limit is up shall be penalized 2 votes. The group with 2 or more votes will lose. Every member of that team will be executed.
We've got static images of each character. Thinking,
This is the decision game, a game of fate. The lives of you, me, and the human race hang in the balance.
I feel like the first 999 game also threatened to inject something in their bracelets, but at the end of the story I don't think it actually did inject people with anything. Right. Let's see. So the X button here switches between 2. And so this is your first branch. And this is going to be a long journey, to say the least, almost certainly. Okay. We could save at this point, but I don't like, the thing here is the game just falls apart if you can't jump back to checkpoints but without having to make save files. So you don't really have to save scum here. We'll make one decision, it'll take us down one path, and then it probably would be best to then rewind back to this point once we're done with one of these paths and try a different path and just see a completely different narrative instead of potentially seeing the same narrative over and over again with every sub branch. Yeah. And so what's interesting here is it's making you select. So this is the right way. I didn't hit a button and end up in this menu by accident. It's weird that you are jumping to the menu, back to the menu. But yeah, you can see that there really can't be that many branching paths. Which that's probably a smarter move to do, frankly, is have more gameplay in actual scenes and less gameplay that is just repeated, or less extremely long stories. I've felt like the two previous Nonary games did run into that problem of being particularly long in parts that you couldn't really skip and parts that really didn't matter. And I feel like you're going to have more puzzles and actual kind of puzzle adventuring experiences in this game, hopefully. Execution D. I half expect that when people die, they're actually just being put to sleep.
Hate oozes calamity.
Or they're clones.
So, a moment when hate becomes calamity, huh?
This might be a case of
I wonder what that means.
it being in Japanese originally, and
it's not supposed to have
what's
meaning.
scribbled on the wall doesn't quite
It's an
translate.
anagram. You reorganize the letters into another sentence.
Why do you think it's an anagram?
I've seen something like this before. In another place. Anyway, where's Sigma?
Maybe Sigma
What are you
looks a
looking at?
little bit like
A box.
the way he did in
kind
the
of
first
box?
game.
Well, I'm looking into it because I don't know.
Looks like something's written on it.
Force quit box.
That's interesting.
I see a keyboard on it too.
Use this keyboard to input a password and force something to stop. Is that what this means?
What does it stop?
Well, the obvious answer would be the game Zero is making us play.
Then we should try it. I shouldn't have thought it would be that easy.
We need a hint.
Maybe it says something on the underside.
Nope. Won't budge.
Notice how they didn't
Is it
bother to
heavy?
animate moving the
Maybe
box.
doesn't even begin to cover it. I doubt it's made out of anything from Earth.
Well, you are getting up there, Sigma.
What are you saying? My body still got it.
I'll just give it a try.
It's weird. If this is supposed to be a year after the
You weren't
events of the
lying.
first game,
See? I told you.
that they would make fun of Sigma for being old.
This is the map for Ward D, right?
Looks like it.
Let's see. So now that's being added to the file.
And we can go wherever we want so long as it's within this ward?
Yes, that's what Zero said.
So we're in the prep room. And with a controller input, I bet we can actually just spin around rooms and look at things and actually interact with things a lot more than we probably could have in the first game. Transporter room. Manufacturing robots. It is all set in this weird future. And effectively these are escape rooms.
Alright. We've checked all the rooms from top to bottom, but
You didn't find any exits?
Weird doors
Obviously.
on
We are in a bomb shelter, after all.
the
If
in the
there were
locker
several
room.
exits, it'd defeat the purpose it was built for.
Notice how that door is
Zero told the truth.
both too high and too
Opening the
low
X
to
door is the
actually
only
blow
way out.
much.
Mira! Eric! Can you hear me?
Carlos! Akane! Tenmyoji!
There's no point.
Inherently, there's
We
this
wouldn't hear a
problem.
drunk toga party at full
where
volume on the other side.
A Westerner like me is just not going
I
to
think we need
play
6 passwords to get this
3
door to open,
super
right?
long visual novels in a
that
row
X-Pass thing.
to keep
For every
all
one
the
person who
narrative and
dies,
story in their
one
mind.
password will be revealed.
Is that true, though?
Sigma, why don't you try dying once?
I politely but firmly refrain.
What about you, Diana?
Hey, no.
Figured.
So, while there is
Ask you guys something?
more of a realistic appearance in this game, it still is fairly unconnected to reality, still, in the idea of being in the future and having a transporter room and having robots. It feels like it would make a lot of sense that you should be able to pull up some files that just tell you about the characters from the previous games. And eventually I assume we will have files about characters, but I really do need a refresher course at this point. Let's see. So we could ask, who is Zero? Nobody obviously should know that yet. Will help come? The answer to that is fairly obviously no. So let's talk about the way Sigma talks.
This may be somewhat rude of me to say, but
And again, this may be an
the way you
accent.
talk, Sigma, is
This may be like a Japanese accent thing that's not translating as
Forgive
well.
him. The age of his mind and his body are completely different.
Oh, he mentioned that back at DCOM. That his consciousness had come back from the year 2074.
That's correct. That's why I know what will happen in the future. I must have spent the past 5 days warning all of you. If nothing changes, mankind will be destroyed. Kane, Phi, and I infiltrated DCOM to stop all that from happening.
Phi? Is this true?
Well, would you believe me if I said that it was?
Then why are all of us trapped in this strange place?
So
Have a future.
Sigma is the character
And you
from the
could've
second
prevented
game,
We had no idea what events went down
and I
inside
really
the DCOM
didn't
facility.
recognize
Nor
it.
did we know anything about what's going to happen in this shelter.
Seems like you get to ask all the questions. So the order probably doesn't matter here. But this is still considerably less interaction, or unnecessary interaction really, compared to most visual novels. Let's just start at the bottom and work our way up.
Someone will come help us?
Like who?
Maybe the DCOM experiment staff?
Sorry, but that's pretty unlikely. Remember? The staff stationed in DCOM can't communicate with us right now. The simulation is attempting to stay true to an actual Mars mission.
It's at least 6 months between Earth and Mars. In that time period, Earth will have rotated halfway around the sun. Which means...
By the time the spaceship reaches Mars, the Earth is behind it.
with the star in the way, we can't send a signal.
That's the lead up. We've been doing experiments for the past 5 days.
Transmissions will reestablish on December 31st at 23:30, which leaves us with more than 10 hours.
There's no point in hoping for a rescue to come before then.
Pretty sure the DCOM staff won't notice any problems until that time.
So, are they on
You guys
Earth
are like siblings.
or not? I don't
You're
know.
totally in sync.
And so I guess the girl on the left there is the main female character at some point from the second game. But she may also be... She may not have her memories or consciousness from the future. So she may be new to Sigma and just believing that Sigma is saying that he came from the future. But yeah, I would say that they are not explaining things greatly here, and maybe that's what they're going to try as a gimmick in this game, is to have a lot more ambiguity around what the actual narrative is until you've played multiple storylines and figured it out yourself. Like,
What do you think Zero
at the
is?
end of the second game, they kind
Do you
of
guys know who Zero
reveal
is?
that they're not on Earth when they
haven't
thought they
the
were on
foggiest.
Earth.
But but they called themselves Zero. At the very least, they know about what happened a year ago.
What are you...
There's one more thing for sure. Think about it. Why was Zero's speech to us pre-recorded? There's got to be a very big reason why things can't be in real time. There are two possibilities. They've already bit the bullet, or...
Zero is among us. Why did this have to happen to me? I should have never listened to Rebecca.
Rebecca?
She's the head nurse at the hospital where I worked.
Oh, right. You did say you were a nurse.
When?
I joined the decom experiment because Rebecca suggested it to me. She told me that they were searching for a nurse willing to participate. Well, to be honest, there is another reason why I decided to join.
So Rebecca, I think, is another character that potentially has tricked Diana as a new character into the mix.
Gab!
Why is Gab here?
I think he came through the vent.
See anything?
No, it's too dark.
This really comes off more like you should
You want
play.
me to go in there?
Should
It's
play
clearly
in
impossible.
order,
You sure?
and
I
should
won't
have
repeat
done the.
myself. My boobs are D's.
Your pants are on fire.
It's true.
Seems to me they've gotten a full size larger than the last time you told me.
It's been 45 years. Growing is natural.
You were just sleeping.
Could I interrupt? What is this?
Is that a coaster?
Something's written on it.
Yeah.
Hello, Carlos here. C-Team is voting for D-Team. So D-Team should vote for Q-Team and Q-Team for C-Team. And someone else wrote...
Q-Team, got it.
I get it. By spreading out the votes, they're suggesting we make it a tie.
Looks like Q-Team agreed.
Seems so.
I guess Gab passed through Ward C to Ward Q and ended up here. It'll work! Now none of the teams will have to die!
If everybody's trustworthy.
I wonder about that.
What?
The deadline to vote is in 3 minutes. Damn, we don't have much time. We need to head over to the voting device.
So not a lot of story happening there. Almost certainly because there's 2 other scenes that would have been happened in parallel.
Do you mean that Q-Team is planning to betray us?
No, I doubt it. That's what they intended. They didn't have to send Gab. They'd only have to decide to vote for D-Team.
Then you mean...
There's a chance that C-Team will betray us. Maybe they're saying they'll vote for D-Team, but actually vote for Q-Team.
Why would they do that?
To make us choose Q-Team.
Even if they did vote for
If you think it's a good
Q-Team.
idea to spread out the votes, then your choice is easy, right? I'm just saying. It's a possibility. The deadline to vote is in 1 minute.
What should I do?
The fact that Gab showed up means that we can assume Q-Team's voting for C-Team. So we have no choice but to choose Q-Team. Otherwise...
Our single vote could cause the death of all of C-Team.
See, the problem here is I'm not sure I fully even understand the narrative there. Let's bring this down a little bit more. Maybe I should just turn everything up a little bit more. See, certainly, if there's going to be a point where you can just straight up skip the text, we're going to go through this fairly quickly. I guess if we get to this point. Okay. So now we have the Gabe letters. This will help us. Hey, Carlos here. Is Carlos on C team? I think he is. C team is voting for D team. D team should vote for Q team. Q team should vote for C team. We're Q team. We should vote for C team. It's telling us to vote for C team. If C team was going to betray us, and then they voted for Q team, then Q team gets killed anyways, because D team seems to be certainly voting for Q team anyways, so our vote doesn't matter. Yeah, unless I'm misunderstanding this, because as it seems to be written, if that seems to be the case, because if D team was going to betray us, they would have not continued the coaster down the line and passed it down, or D team would have had to been really sneaky and written the letter themselves. But if D team is really sneaky and wrote the letter themselves, and they're saying they're voting for Q team, then they'd be either still voting for Q team or voting for C team, which still means I should vote for C team. Like, there's not a single scenario here other than not voting that really changes the outcome. We'll probably want to do this. Now, I doubt this game really has a counter going. But if it does, then that's going to really screw me over as far as trying to play the game. And making a memo is probably not something. Here you can see they're using just simple photo effects of inverting the image as a way of making more images without actually having to animate more images. Yeah, since this is effectively a 2DS game, I'm sure, or a 3DS game, possibly. What team are we on? I thought we were Q team. See, this is what's confusing me, is team select here. No. Global flowchart, maybe. Status, maybe. Okay. I guess we are D team. And yeah, we're D team. D for Diana. C for Carlos. Q for who knows. So I'm kind of agonizing over something that seems fairly easily. D team should vote for Q team, and then I guess this might be a translation error when translating it to English. Yeah, Q team got the message and they're saying, yes, we're going to vote for C team. I don't think it really changes much, though. If we're D team and we voted for C team because C team was actually going to vote for... I mean, C team says it's going to vote for D team. Man, I don't think there's any reason here at all. It says D team should vote for Q team. I say D team should vote for Q team. At the very least, we're also kind of following the right hand path. Anyways, there's no real timer here, at least on those specific choices. I can see that there's going to be a lot of reusing of the same ceiling shots.
Well, that was a good choice.
Do you think it'll be okay?
So long as Gab's note was the truth.
I mean,
all we could do
it's
was
not your
trust
fault
them.
to trust somebody else, really.
90 minutes have passed. Your time limit has ended. Sleep well, as the next game will begin when you awake. Unfortunately, the team who receives 2 votes will be unable to participate. One final thing. You've gone through with the note exactly as I commanded. You deserve a reward for obeying. The memory loss drug will not be injected into the graveyard. When you next wake, those who survived will be able to regret the decision they made. As all members of a single team will perish as a result of the vote you entered. Pleasant dreams.
So it does seem like these memory fragments are going to play a bigger role, and it does kind of almost seem like you're going through a random jumble of characters' stories. Let's see, narrative-wise, I think you might want to go further down this path, but you noticeably don't see a new choice here. So we're not really getting a different ending. And the game is going to make it fairly easy by showing you the new choices anyways. Of course, you're going to see all the paths and all the characters. They're not really going to kill 3 characters very quickly in the game and then not use them again. Okay, well, I think I made a mistake here, so I think the right move is to do this and play this memory fragment. I almost wonder if what we're going to find out is that this is going to be some of these memories all combined into one. Although I don't know how any of this ends up causing the world to end. But everything is kind of crazy in this game series. So the explanation is going to be kind of insane. They all have prep rooms. They all have decontamination rooms. And then they have different rooms otherwise. In previous games, there's been puzzles in the rooms and challenges in the rooms, and I imagine we'll see some of that, but looking at the images so far,
so this is the last room.
It doesn't feel
Yes.
that
We've checked everywhere we could.
that weird like an escape room. Noticeably here, we're immediately finding the file,
just as Zero said, huh?
and they're
There's no
skipping
way to get
over
out, except
text
by opening the X door.
or dialogue.
50 minutes left until the vote deadline.
I wonder if
Don't
that's
tell me you
the way
wanna
it
vote.
always would have
How can we
played
not?
out, or if
We
the
refuse.
game itself is
C-Team gets 2 votes automatically.
actively
We'll die.
trying to clip out redundant dialogue.
Hey, do you think this could be part of the experiment? DCOM's whole psychological test.
Nope.
What? Why?
That masked guy called himself Zero. I have no clue why he's here, but he's for real.
So that means he's actually willing to kill off a whole team?
Yeah.
But how?
He said that there's an anesthetic in our bracelets, right? So we'll be sleeping, and then bam! Or maybe... There's a bunch of different ways.
Yeah, I think Carlos
Maybe
is a
there was
new
way to
character.
contact someone on the other teams.
Why
But
would you need to reach them? What, you're planning on begging them not
I
to
think
vote C-Team or
this
something?
guy
Well, no, but
is from
I
the
thought,
first game.
why not spread out the votes?
What do you mean?
Remember what Zero said? The group with 2 or more votes will lose.
I get it. Maybe C team could vote for D team, D team for Q team, and Q team for C team. Then all the teams would have 1 vote each.
And that'd make it a 3-way tie. And no one would have to die?
How do we make sure they know to do it?
Yep. It does feel like that's more of a sped up experience.
Hey, Mira! Eric! Diana!
Phi! Sigma! Can you hear us?
Yeah, they all know each other's names.
It's
So
not working.
on a subconscious
Damn it.
level,
Hey, Akane,
they
why
do
don't you try
know
using
each
the
other.
morphogenetic field?
Huh? Morphogenetic field?
that's the field from the first game, 999, where you psychically.
Let the game end where I treat 2. What's this supposed to mean?
The game will end, and something about 2 people? I guess the tough part is figuring out treat. If it's like trick or treat, then maybe it means there's a reward or a gift or something.
But it could also mean treatment, which would imply being cared for.
Either way, it doesn't make sense.
Hey, anyone know what this thing could be?
A box?
What's inside of it?
Maybe some kind of white smoke.
Automate Bako?
You've heard of it, Carlos?
Urashima Taro, right? Japanese folklore. Something about jumping through time, I think.
This label says Force Quit box.
What's that?
Looks like there's a keyboard.
There's probably a password that goes there.
Then something ends if you punch it in?
But what, though?
Maybe the game Zero's making us play.
Wait. You really think Zero'd put something that easy here?
It seems like it wouldn't even have to be a box for that.
They really
Do you
needed
think it worked?
an explanation why the
Just pressing
morphogenetic
random buttons isn't
field
going to solve anything.
wouldn't work, instead of just kind of ignoring that and after mentioning it. And yeah, it definitely feels like we're probably going to see a lot of scenes that
So,
happened
What now?
in
What
the
can we
past
do?
in a
Maybe we should just get this
non-chronological
voting
order.
business over with.
Junpei.
No, we still have some time.
Come on, man. You're supposed to be the leader here.
How the hell did we get into this
Junpei
mess
definitely
anyway?
was a character
Do you guys have
in the
any
previous
ideas?
games. Alright. So let's ask the questions.
Akane Kurashiki. Junpei Tenmyoji.
Yeah, I
Both
think
Japanese, right?
Junpei was
Yes.
the character you played
And you
as in the
both
first
lived in
game,
Japan when you were kids.
and
You
Akane
even went to the
was
same
the
school. So your
damsel
childhood
in
friends.
distress.
Who told you that?
Sigma. He mentioned it back in DCOM. We all lived in close quarters in that facility for 5 days. Information spreads fast. So, whose idea was it for you to join?
Huh?
The DCOM experiment. You two signed up together.
So they all
No,
were
we
in the
didn't.
DCOM
We
experiment.
did this on our own.
Wait, you're telling me you guys just happened to bump into each other at DCOM?
It wasn't a coincidence. It was inevitable.
But yeah, you barely even
Why did
see
you subject
Junpei
yourself
as a
to this
character in the
circus?
first game.
I didn't mention it before. I kind of really need a lot of cash. They said they'd give us 500,000 if we joined up.
Huh. Color me surprised. Thought a hero of justice had no need of money.
A what?
Didn't you say you're a firefighter? A really good one? You faced off against danger and saved a whole bunch of people. Sounds like a hero to me.
I just have good instincts. Doesn't seem to matter where I find myself. They're pretty good at telling me which path has death at the end.
It definitely feels like they should have shown us that first 5 days of people getting together, and then got everybody just acquainted, got the player acquainted with all the characters, got the characters acquainted with each other, so they actually care about each other. Arguably, even in the Saw movies, that probably would work in some scenarios a little bit better, instead of putting people who usually have no idea who the other person is against each other. Although in the first Saw movie, that's kind of the whole idea of the first Saw movie, is that it feels like there are two strangers locked in a bathroom, but then throughout the course of the first Saw movie, you realize that they're actually people who are actually related to each other and have a history that they don't realize. But yeah, this game seems to be interested in rushing towards some action, any action at all, because it knows it's going to run particularly long. We've gone an hour and 10 minutes so far, and we've made 2 decisions and asked 4 questions. That's not a lot of interaction for a video game at all. Might be more than some visual novels. There are kinetic visual novels that literally have no choices at all, and you're just pressing the A button to move forward in the story. And I cannot overemphasize how much better it is to just be able to sit back and listen instead of reading things out loud. Although inherently, because there is this big jump in there actually being voice acting in Zero Time Dilemma, it creates a cycle where a lot of players might play Zero Time Dilemma and then want to play the prequels, and then get stuck playing games that are inferior because they don't have voice acting, and then that opens up the idea of potentially just trying to reboot the series completely, or soft reboot the series completely, so that you can have full voice acting, or remaster the 2 previous games to have full voice acting. And honestly, I don't think this game is populist enough, in the sense that it is this niche visual novel, even amongst visual novels, to justify getting a remaster with voice acting or a reboot. If there was a reboot, I would like to hope that they could tell a somewhat similar story, but ground it a little bit more, because we already are fairly off the rails, and I imagine it's only going to get more off the rails. Now, there is a problem also I've just recalled, now that my memory is maybe getting refreshed of the first game. There already were 2 zeros in the first game. So, if this guy says he's the second Zero, that doesn't really line up. He really should have said, I'm the third Zero, or the real Zero.
Why is Zero doing this?
To make us play a game, right? This decision game or whatever.
With the fate of mankind on the line.
So it's true.
Do you know something, Akane?
I think if we end up losing this game, we're all going to die. 6 billion people will.
So what Sigma said back then up in DCOM was...
At this rate, 6 billion people will die.
Notice that's a flat image in
Yes.
the flashback.
What Sigma said is the truth.
They definitely were experimenting on
Have you
learning
ever
how
heard
to
of
do
the term reverie syndrome?
3D modeling.
What causes it is unknown. Neither the nerves nor the brain have abnormalities. But somehow, this disease causes you to stop reacting to a variety of stimuli.
But like
I've
these
heard there are
3D
people
models
from all over the world who have become
are
affected by this.
oddly
hold up.
generic
How
for
does this and
main
what we were talking
characters.
about before go together?
Shouldn't you know already?
Huh?
A crisis. Mankind is currently facing what is clearly an unprecedented crisis. Those affected are sensing it's coming.
Reverie syndrome.
You've heard of it?
Yeah, kinda.
And at a certain level, this 3D modeling that they're doing probably was about as much as you could do on a 2DS or a 3DS. Or a DS. Maybe it was just a DS game. Who knows? But by modern standards, you would expect there to be a lot more detail in the textures of the shards, a lot more detail in the strands of hair, a little bit more polygons. So it is in this weird mushy middle. 3D modeling in particular kind of always runs into that problem where it gets dated fairly fast, whereas looking at something like Super Mario Brothers, which is just an 8-bit sprite, has a level of nostalgia around it that doesn't make it feel as dated as it actually is.
Who is Zero?
Yeah, I would expect there to be like logos on the chart.
Who is the second Zero instead?
Then that means there has to have been a first one.
I'd probably
right?
try to put more scars and freckles and things
You know
on the
him?
skin,
Sorta.
or just more shadowing.
I brought it up earlier. Bracelet a lot like this one has been strapped to my wrist before. It happened last year. Akane and I were trapped somewhere. The person responsible back then was named Zero.
But I don't think that one has anything to do with this one.
It's gotta be connected.
They kind of always
Just
make that assumption.
Please. Believe me.
Well,
She's right.
it really can't have anything to do with anything spoiler for the first game 999, in that Akane really was Zero.
Do you hear
Or
something?
the second Zero in the game, in
Over
the
there.
first game. So inherently, I guess that also means
Gab!
that
Where did you come
we
from?
should suspect Akane now as being the
Looks
second
like you
Zero
made it here
again.
using this vent.
Does that mean it's connected to the surface?
I don't think so. A vent to the surface would defeat the purpose of a bomb shelter.
So he came from another wart then.
It's too dark.
Yeah,
I
you
can't
can see the
anything.
back of her neck, and that
But Ward
3D
Q is
model
down that direction, right?
is not quite connected to her head.
Think you can fit in there, Akane?
No, there's no way.
Someone likes cake too much.
Oh, I know. Let's cut off Junpei's arm. He should be able to fit through then.
Hey, Mira! Eric!
If they did cut off their arm, that would
No answer, huh?
stop them from being knocked out.
Hey, Gab. Did they steal you away from DCOM too?
Seems like they're going to take an
Why the
opportunity to
Maybe they
make
felt
fun
bad
of
about
the
leaving him alone up there?
female
Baloney.
form of each of the
Really think
female
Zero
character
do us any favors?
in each of these memory fragments.
Hold on. I think I got an idea that may work. This case. It holds medication, doesn't it?
Uh-huh. It's empty.
Bastard Zero take the meds?
I still think this could work. We can use it. Wait a sec.
Interesting, the dog is not barking. Didn't bother to pay
A beer
Pay
coaster
a
and a pen.
voice
I
actor
found him on the
to
counter of the bar.
There's
bark,
something written on it.
apparently.
Oh, I did that.
Hello, Carlos here. C Team is voting for D Team. So D Team should vote for Q Team, and Q Team for C Team.
Oh! You're going to put it in the case and have Gab go through the vent.
Cross your fingers he can get to Q Team.
You really think it'll be that simple?
So we shouldn't?
Well, I guess we don't have anything to lose. Why don't we give it a shot?
So yeah, it doesn't seem like anybody's really betraying anybody in this first decision.
What did you throw?
Cheese. Picked it up at the coaster. Was over there on the counter.
Why don't we just toss in some ketchup and pickles too? Maybe next time he comes back, he'll be a hot dog. It was a joke.
Yeah, you probably feel the need to write some jokes
5
and
minutes
brevity around
Gab's not come back.
Let's just vote, Carlos. Like I
around the
said,
idea
we
of
forfeit.
I know.
such a tension-filled narrative, but
Hey,
it also
there's one
comes
thing
off a
we
little
can
weird.
do.
What is it?
You remember what you wrote on the gab letter?
The what?
The message we sent the furry pigeon to deliver? C-Team is voting for D-Team, so D-Team should vote for Q-Team and Q-Team for C-Team.
Yeah? So what?
So, vote for Q-Team instead.
What? Junpei, you can't be suggesting... If we do that, they'll end up with 2 votes and...
Yep.
It'd be funny if it turns out
Granted, this whole thing is
that
assuming our initial plan works. The note
everybody
makes it to
votes
D-Team,
differently
Diana
than what
votes the
they
way
say.
we want her to. Think about it for a second. 6 people have to die or we're never getting out of this bomb shelter. Those are the rules of the decision game according to Zero. Balancing the votes won't do us any good. We'll just end up falsely prolonging someone's death.
Junpei...
The deadline to vote is in 3 minutes.
Come on, Carlos, vote for Q-Team.
No, you can't!
And with every decision, you're obviously going to be siding with somebody until at least later on. And there really is nothing else to do. Like, you can check your fragment flowchart. You can check your global flowchart. But ideally, in previous versions of this game, anytime you betray anybody, they tend to remember it. So you want to do the nice choices first. So that's what I would leave this to. So now we have the first version of it, and then we have the second version of it. So we have knowledge potentially from a different timeline, but who's to say that these events are even happening in the same timeline, and that it isn't just a case where your memory's getting erased and he's having you make the same decisions over and over again. Yeah. But yeah, once again, it's not really a decision I'd want to make, so I'm just going to stick with D-Team, which again is on the right side path, and notably on the menu and the flowchart is also on the right hand path. So we'll just, they've kept everything nice and easy to follow because of that. And I imagine that's just going to end the story and make us go back and play the third choice before we can
has been accepted.
before we can see an
You weren't
ending.
going to do it, Carlos.
You'll see, Akane. Just because we did what we said we would doesn't mean this will work. Hell, we don't even know if our note reached the other teams or not. And even if it did, there's no guarantee they did what we asked. 2 possibilities will come out of this. The 3 members of D-Team will die.
Or it's our heads on the chopping block.
There's really no reason not to
90 minutes
have faith
passed. Your time limit has
in
ended.
humanity, though.
Sleep well, as
Particularly-
the game will begin when you awake. Unfortunately, the team who receives 2 votes will be unable to participate.
Really, your hope is just to tie and hope that the
Vote exactly as I
next
commanded. You deserve a reward for obeying.
the next instance of
Every
the
lost drug will not be
challenge will be
When you
more
next play,
fair
those who survived
or easier to manage.
the decision. As all members of a single team will perish as a result of the vote you entered. Pleasant dreams.
That last sentence does seem to imply that, even though it's pre-recorded, that somebody did vote against the instructions. But I guess not. So, yeah. Inherently, there's room for a third branch. And, yeah. Some of these branches probably would end eventually, because if you're if we actually do kill off one team completely, then the narrative should end fairly quickly, whereas I imagine the main narrative should continue with everybody tying. Although maybe not. It may be a case that, at least in height, as far as this chart goes, it's actually not that high, and there's just a lot of width of alternate realities and alternate decisions. Well, obviously we want to do this. There's nothing is going to unlock until at least we pick the right choice, or one choice for each team. I wouldn't be 100% surprised if you have to actually pick each choice for each memory fragment before you can go forward. That'd be a little weird. I'd also like to know what the deal with the kid is. In particular, it does kind of feel like this team is the team that could die, because this team seems to be mostly the new characters. Which it's a little late to the party to introduce new characters. Prep and decontamination again. And then quantum computer dome. And then pod room. And biolab. This decom experimentation.
This is weird.
Very possibly is the first step towards creating the space station that you're on in the second game.
Mira.
Thank you.
So now that's in our file.
It's pretty pointless to hang out here kicking our heels. Let's go back to the lounge.
And yeah, if this wasn't kind of that extreme anime style of storytelling, you would imagine that the biker chick with the bra might zip up her coat a little bit more around the kid, but in all fairness, Japanese people don't really care about kids seeing cleavage, or particularly even topless women with their group bathing and all of that.
Yeah. Even if C team voted for D team,
I wouldn't be surprised if her shirt actually couldn't be zipped up. It looks pretty tight.
2 votes against us automatically.
And Q team would be killed.
I suppose that's true if this game is for real.
So you're saying
I'm not sure which character you actually play as in this group.
Don't you think that would make a whole lot more sense? The decom staff will probably pop through that door over there yelling surprise.
Oh, I get it. You're right. Then him being here makes sense now. I bet that means you're part of the whole surprise.
No!
Come on. Take off that helmet.
I can't.
Huh?
I said I can't take it off.
Damn, brat. Stop bullshitting me.
Stop! Stop! You'll break my neck!
Damn. It's really on there.
They have a different ceiling compared to the previous room.
What the hell?
Isn't it a password input?
Does that mean the helmet comes off with the right numbers?
Or maybe his head will explode.
Hey!
Really? Who are you?
I don't know. I don't remember. I woke up and I was here.
Are you saying you have amnesia?
See, it kind of makes sense if the memories were being put into the brain of the kid there.
Could I ask you something?
What?
I assume the kid is a male, but I don't know for certain if that's the case. Alright, so it does seem like you're playing as the kid in this case.
Mira, Eric, what's going on between you two?
Going on? Well...
Are you in love?
Idiot! No, we're not!
We're not?
Well, we're not, but... Wait, what?
So, interesting. These are, I think, 2 new characters. Or all 3 new characters.
Where are we?
Weren't you listening to Zero earlier? We're 50 meters underground in a bomb shelter.
I know that, but where exactly?
I doubt we're very far from DCOM.
DCOM?
Dwelling for the cohabitation of Mars.
So, it's an experiment to see if we could survive on Mars?
Uh-huh.
This
we
is
all lived together in
backstory
that compound for 5 days.
we needed earlier.
C-Team and D-Team were there too.
Oh, and there was a dog. It was incredibly old. I think his name was Gab.
But not you. You weren't there. It's very suspicious.
Oh, what were they testing for?
Psychological data, mostly. It was a closed environment for a group of people for an extended period of time. So how would that mess with the subjects mentally? That was what they were trying to investigate.
Why would a
What
bomb
made you sign up?
shelter have a bar?
question.
I guess is the question to
It
ask.
seemed like it'd be kind of fun, I guess.
Eric?
I joined because Mira wanted to.
That's it.
Well, maybe not entirely.
And just like, very much like the previous Nonary games, the character with the cleavage really is hard to pay attention to because every single shot is right at the cleavage, and that certainly can be distracting, to say the least. Yeah, I suppose we shouldn't ask too many deep questions as to why there's a bar in this bomb shelter. It's just going to be what it is, I suppose. That's the way it was in the previous games. The rooms were basically decorated to be like puzzle rooms, escape rooms.
I was wondering, who is Zero?
Oh, come on! Stop playing! You know everything, don't you?
I told you, I don't...
So
They
you're gonna
always
stick with the
feel
idea
the
that this
need
isn't
to have
some
a
big surprise?
hot-headed character
I don't know.
that turns into the
I don't
bad guy
remember
in at least one of
If
the
this isn't a
storylines.
joke, then things are really serious.
Then
And it
you're saying one of
always
the teams
seems
is
it's a
actually
little
going to be
crazy
executed?
to have a hot-headed, desperate character. But it's
why
not
would someone do that?
unbelievable. It just
Zero
kind of
said,
feels like bad
It's
writing.
a game.
So then he's a psychopath.
Of course,
This Zero guy's probably
if
off
you've
somewhere
got 9
enjoying seeing us
characters, you have
freak
to do a
out.
lot of character
He
development
could
and
be that
writing.
serial killer in the news.
That's that heart ripper, yeah?
Yeah.
Rumor is they killed 18 people, all in the past few years.
I imagine the
March
Heart Ripper
15th, 2026.
is a
The body of a young female was found
Red
in a park in Roseville.
herring.
The victim's name was Virginia Bailey, age 28. The chest was ripped open and the heart entirely removed. It happened again on May 22nd, 2026. The body of a male was found in a trash can near a residence in Sacramento. The victim's name was Jeffrey Foray, age 37. His body was just like Virginia's, with the heart completely gouged out.
So yeah, either
2
this
months
guy,
later,
this
on
kid
July
is a
29th,
robot,
Hey,
or he has
wait a minute. Don't you have
like
amnesia or
cyborg
something?
knowledge.
Why do you know all this?
He might be the Heart
I
Ripper,
don't
but
know.
that'd be weird.
I don't know why, but I knew.
You gotta be kidding me.
Be weird to put a
You know, I've been trying to figure
murderer's
something out for a while.
brain
What
in
is
a
this
child's body.
Maybe it's a gift from Zero.
So, what, you think there's assorted teas inside?
Gifts don't have to be a good thing, do they? Hey, what the hell? Stop! What if it's
He
some
lifted
kind
the
of bomb?
box
A bomb? I don't think
Also,
it is.
this box doesn't seem to have a
something's
keyboard on
the
it.
back. I think this is upside down. So this would be the front.
Force quit box?
Guess it stopped something.
Look, there's also a keyboard.
Looks like you're supposed to input a code of some kind.
And if we get
Notice
it right,
how the character is
Then something
flatly
will be
animated
forced
in the
to end.
corner there
but what?
instead of 3D animated.
Maybe your life.
What was that sound?
So unless the
Came from
force
that way.
quit box is
Let's go.
way lighter in this timeline,
Gab?
we're
How did
really
you-
quickly
came
finding
through
that
the
the
vent.
kid is
It's
probably
dark.
some
I can't
kind
see
of
anything.
robot
Why
or
don't you go in?
superhuman.
I can't.
Just do it, will ya?
See?
You didn't have this stupid thing on your head.
Hey, check this out.
There's something inside the case.
Is that a coaster? Oh, there's something on it. Hello, Carlos here. C team.
Interesting how they
is voting
animated
for
him
D
holding
team.
it with just two
So
fingers
D team should
pointed
vote
out
for Q team
outward.
and Q team for C team.
It'd make more sense to hold the back of the
What does
coaster
this
with
mean?
all 4 of your fingers
Don't
and
you
the
get
thumb
it?
on the front.
They're saying to spread the votes.
Huh? Spread?
I get it. If each team ends up with 1 vote each.
The whole thing is a tie, and no team will be executed.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Plus, if
Okay,
everything's a
now we have a
tie
plan.
and then
Let's
3
do
people
it.
can remember what happened, that's
Why should we
a
wait?
pretty great scenario.
Well, what if this message hasn't been delivered to D team yet?
You're right. The position of this vent does imply it only connects towards C. I doubt Gab's made his way toward D yet.
We need to figure out how to notify D-Team then.
Hold on a sec. I'll get a pen and cheese. There was some at the bar, right?
Interesting that there's
And cheese?
a pin and cheese in 2 of the locations. And he writes Q team
That
got
should
it.
do it.
What exactly are you doing?
And it definitely feels like they had to put the kid with the 2 dumbest of the characters so that the kid would make sense being in charge.
Oh, I get it. If Ward C and Ward Q have connected vents,
Then Q and D are probably connected as well.
Yep. We just need to take the cheese and...
I don't know the value in it not being that case, but it would be interesting if it turned out that
it's all on you, Gab.
these
Think it'll work?
different wards are
I'm
not
sure it
actually
will.
connected, whether chronologically or physically, and that the dog is actually not going where you think it's going.
5 minutes until the deadline.
I wonder if Gab made it to Ward D or not.
Even if he did, who knows if Diana
There was
will
this
vote
whole
the way it says
code
in the note.
In the
What?
first
You
game
think she'll
around
betray us?
pushing both
It's
buttons
not outside the realm of possibility.
that on the
I don't even want to
watches.
consider the alternative.
So I wonder if there was
Which is?
a way
the whole
that
letter from C team is a trap.
Junpei and Akane could have just tried
They
that
could
same
have written,
code
But maybe
on the
Carlos
watches
is planning
to-
vote for Q team instead.
to take them
Hey,
off.
wait a minute now.
We had to go
That's
like
not good.
left, left, right, left, or
At
something
all.
like that.
You
a lot.
said it. If I'm right, then we need Diana to do the opposite of what it says.
What? But...
The deadline to vote is in 3 minutes.
And I guess
The vote has to be
Diana.
decided by the leader, but
What should we do?
We don't have time for a committee.
then we'll just have to use force.
Hey, wait!
So the kid is probably a female if the name is Diana. Or maybe the other character's name is Diana. Okay. Alright, let's see. We now have this map with a room that they couldn't find that is labeled QCD. where there is no room called QCD on that map, and nothing like that on that either. There isn't a third game letter, as it were. Okay. Carlos's team C is voting for D. D should vote for Q team. Q team is voting for C, so we should vote for C. Because Q team got it. Is that not the way this goes? Yeah, let's just double check. Yeah, we're Q team. I think we're Q team. Which means Diana is probably from D team. Yeah, and again, I don't think there's really anything to do here. Although oddly, this does seem like I should go to the left if that's what I'm gonna do. We are the Q team. The letter says Q team should vote for C team. I'm fairly certain that's the case. Kind of easy to be confused. There was a teenage girl that, I mean, could have been, the way she was animated, she could have been 16, 17, or she could have been 14, 15, but she was fairly young in the first story. She's, I guess, maybe older slightly in the second game, and I guess what they've tried to do here is have a young kid character because they're doing all the anime character tropes, but then they wanted to make the kid character, I think, more of a kid looking character and less of a teenager or pre-teenager character, and that probably works fairly well. I doubt, though, we will see a scenario where people sacrifice themselves to protect the kid in particular. Yeah, let's go C team. Hopefully that was the right choice. Maybe we'll get an ending now. It is weird that the ceiling is different.
Following the note, huh?
I guess it's fine. It's not like it was a bad choice. Now we wait and see what exactly Carlos and Diana do.
If this plan doesn't work, then there are two outcomes that could happen. Either the 3 and C team die,
or we're the ones executed.
No, there's one more possibility.
Yeah?
It's a joke. Someone is definitely tricking us.
So it is you!
90 minutes have passed. Your time limit has ended. Sleep well, as the next game will begin when you awake.
And at this point,
The team who receives 2 votes will be
90 minutes kind of has passed in reality.
You've gone through with the vote exactly as I commanded. You deserve a reward for obeying.
This being pre-recorded,
Will not be injected.
it almost certainly seems like there's a different recording if you didn't
Those who survived
vote.
will be able to regret the decision they made, as all members of a single team will perish as a result of the vote you entered. Pleasant dreams.
Okay, so let's start by saving. And yeah, 90 minutes and 7 minutes and extra seconds have passed. So if it was a real-time thing, then I've potentially already lost the game, but Also, this type of game totally wouldn't make sense if that would happen. And now, it seems like what we've done is we've unlocked nearly half of the entire narrative as far as memory fragments, which is a lot, certainly. That definitely seems like a lot. So yeah, it seems like the game is pointing us in kind of a very broken up idea. There definitely are some bad endings here where people just straight up end up being killers. That's in line with the previous game. As far as looking at the flows here, it seems like we got the good ending, and that has branched to a lot of stuff. And I would almost certainly say that this is probably a narrative ending that you have to go through before you get to a decision ending here that is the final true ending of the game. And one of these is probably the bad ending, and then almost everything else will be a bad ending. And yeah, I suppose if you did the opposite choices, you very possibly would just get a bad ending too. But if it's like the previous game, getting the good ending now is the right move, and if we got the bad ending, we might have to get the good ending again to line things up correctly. If we switch over to the branching path, there's less branches, so that does imply to me that this is probably as far as you can get going forward without making some more decisions. And yeah. And yeah, there's really nothing else that we can do. So I may find that it's a mistake to not potentially try and do 2 or 3 hour episodes in a visual novel like this, but this is a good point to decide to wrap up this recording. And I think I also want to make the decision to probably do something with C team again, and then Q team, and then D team, and just go in that cycle. Although I am just picking random memory fragments, and so best case scenario, I think I probably want to see the same memory fragments from 3 different people's perspectives, if there are even memory fragments from 3 different people's perspectives. There may not. It may very much be a case where the story is streamlined by keeping the 3 groups separate in most scenarios. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to further follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good